Okay, calling select board to order at 4 o'clock. Do we have any additions or modifications to the agenda?
You have one, Gigi?
I wasn't willing, I was going to wait past to be on the agenda for the next one. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, I think the first item up is, well, public comment. I guess we could ask if there's any public comment. I don't see any public, but
Is there anybody zooming in?
No, not yet.
do you guys usually ask what people on Zoom?
We don't take questions.
All right, discussion on village improvement project.
Eric?
Recording in progress.
Rich. There. One of the aspects I heard, one of the concerns I heard about the project is the Merck grant funding and whether or not we can be counted as separate entities, or if we used it, the town wouldn't be able to use it. I went straight to the manager of that fund, which is your first page in the packet, and he clarified that absolutely we get 500, county gets 500. There's no questions about it.
So just to be clear, I want to just make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. Let's jump right to the chase. You're talking about applying for grant funds. We would not. You're saying that both entities, because we're separate entities, would be eligible regardless of the fact that we are joint owners in a specific building.
Right, you know, they don't want to, they want to get the money out.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as this is concerned, we're separate. You know, like Chris, you wanted to work on when you just act like it's just yours, and then we're not there to look into the covers. They want to use the money.
For this specific grant, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess if we can ask questions, one question that I had is, did you get a sense of whether this is a grant that they're going to give out the allotted amount for every year, or are they struggling to find applicants? Or because one thing that if we were both to go out for it, would it be the situation where they look at our town and they say, town and village rather, and they say, you've already got one entity from Johnson applying for this that we're favoring, we're going to give it to them and go somewhere else with.
No, they've got a lot of money and they're using it. It's a one-time shop. It's one program. And there's, you know, I said, read the first page. You want to clarify that, you know, I'll just read this. Hi, Eric. Thanks for reading out. To summarize what we discussed, we can clarify that the village of Johnson and the town of Johnson are considered two separate and equally eligible entities capable of pursuing their own implementation grants of up to $500,000.
I understand that we're both equally eligible. What I'm wondering is when the decision making happens, whether they will consider the fact that we are both part of Johnson. It sounds like what you're saying is there's enough money where that shouldn't be a problem.
Right. He told me all village towns, they're seeing as separate entities for this grant.
Okay.
May I say something? I've been to a lot of those meetings, Shane, and they're also, the $500,000 is the maximum. There's the chance that lots of places won't be asking for that much.
And you don't have to put it towards one project. So if you want, say you wanted to split it and put 300 towards a town garage and 200 towards here or somewhere else.
Okay.
In other words, I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. In other words, you could apply multiple times for the same grant opportunity and get awarded different grant amounts? Or are you
What you do is you go in and have them do, you have them come and do their free assessment of whatever buildings you want them to, and rank them, and apply for the entire grant for, whatever split you find as the most, the best for the town.
Is this the same grant we talked about last time that we invited LCPC to come?
Yes.
It is.
Okay,
The BGS is called Municipal Energy Resilience Program Grant.
Yep.
Merlin.
okay.
And they suggested we did 2 buildings each, right?
Up to, yeah, 1 or 2, is, they don't want to get too complicated. They want, but
Yeah.
They
In
will,
terms of the assessment,
and the funding, you can do more assessments. You can assess more buildings and then decide which ones you want to aim at.
We thought that too, but when we asked a bunch of questions of, I forget her name, Emily maybe?
Tori?
Tori, yes, thank you. When I asked a bunch of questions of Tori, or the board did, she responded by saying, you're guaranteed to have a single building assessed, but you're not guaranteed to have multiple.
Right.
So we should make sure that we're prioritizing the most
They
important
would-
structure
Yeah,
first.
That's one of those things you ask and the cool thing is we're not
Competing.
gonna do, there's no competition, that especially since we're not gonna do an assessment. That's, we did an energy audit with the BTC students, and we already know what we want for the whole grant. So we don't, the assessors don't have as much business in this area because we're not doing that.
Okay.
Just give that a with the audit, yeah. Yeah. Good job.
And are you thinking of putting solar on the building?
Absolutely. Both, well, actually not on the building due to the shape, but we're looking at the roof over the diesel tank and adding a bank in the same place you guys have a bank. Enough bank to offset the entire building.
Up.
Gold Hill. I think it is.
Hill.
Yeah. That's that was the suggestion from the PTC students. Yeah, get a spot on Gold Hill. We could do that.
So as far as the garage,
Mhm.
and I understand that there was some concerns about some of the stuff we were doing without consulting you guys. I've instructed Eric to apply the select board with a monthly update as to what we're doing from this point forward. But the village would appreciate it from this point forward that the select board contacted us for questions without going the route that they took the last time. Because we had it scheduled on our meeting to discuss this. And it took up my time, Eric's time, and LCPC. Nothing at the meeting that Duncan was involved in showed any new light other than what we've already discussed in our meetings openly. And we would appreciate if the board would come to us first, as we would do the same to you guys.
Okay, fair enough. I think it was just surprising to us, so that's all.
I don't understand how it'd be surprising. We've been working on this project for 2 years and we've discussed with you guys that we were looking into stuff.
Yep. I don't want to argue that it was surprising, but the grant part of it was surprising to us, that's all.
What grant part?
We just wanted to make sure, so from a board I'm just gonna speak for the board, if you guys don't mind, from the board perspective. We didn't want, like, the point was not to go against what you were doing, it was actually, we talked about supporting what you were doing. We just wanted to make sure that we were in a position where liability for each entity, because we're joint owners, was understood. So we didn't want to put the town in a poor position as the board, and I'm sure you don't either. It's not about you wanting to put your village in one either. So it was about a liability concern, but also, like, is there anything that would prevent you from moving forward if we weren't signing on? Would it get to the point where you were blocked later on because we weren't signing off on some of this? We just didn't know. So that's kind of the angle we were coming from. It wasn't, you're not allowed to do this because.
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
So our understanding is that we would have easily been able to do the assessment of phase one Brownsfield study. And then, because it was contained to a walkthrough on the inside of our property.
Yep.
And then if it come to a phase two, then we would of course ask for you to sign on with us.
Yeah, okay,
Because we understand that there's only so much money for a cleanup, which isn't enough to actually do anything for either party. So it was just the way it went around that it was shocking to our board also.
fair enough.
Ken, since you mentioned me directly and personally, I would just want to say that it was brought up in the select board meeting. I was asked to attend the meeting. So it was discussed in our board. You know, I'm not exactly sure how the LCPC meeting got organized, but I was asked to attend this, which I did.
So your board also told you to tell the chair of the trustees and the village manager that you didn't care what we thought in that meeting? I don't think so. So I'm just making my point is that,
Your point is made.
that's right, that it's very unqualified. It was very unprofessional how you responded to us in that meeting. But
Well, I think I was responding to. We can go around on this and around on this and around on this. Let's not even bother. Let's just move ahead.
actually, I'd like to because it was very personal. And the reaction.
Well,
the reaction
you made some
gave-
personal comments to me
Can I
too.
speak, please? The reaction you gave when we read the description of the MOU was that you didn't care what I thought or the village manager. And that was totally uncalled for. And I want to know if this board approves them words coming out of your mouth and the response you gave to us.
So wait, stop. We're not gonna do this right now. So I think that the bottom line is everybody needs to be respectful and hear each other out, period, end of story. There's no point in talking about he said, she said, I don't care.
I do
Personally,
actually.
Okay,
If one of my board members approached you and told you that they didn't care what you said or what Brian said, you would have a serious issue with it.
I would say you're one person. That's actually would be my
That is correct,
response.
but
So that would be my response, but ultimately, I think that we need to be in a place where we can have respectful conversation and both sides can hear each other in order to move forward. And if that's not going to be the case, then maybe we do need to meet more often, so we do build that respect. I don't know the answer. It's probably not a great answer, but you know, should we be meeting more often? So we're having this dialogue without having situational things come up that put either party in an awkward position.
as I said, we had it on the scheduled meeting, so I don't know why it would had to happen before that, because nothing was learned in that informational meeting. That
Okay.
wasn't presented in our meeting in an open session.
Yeah, we can't, that, I mean, the one thing to consider, I think, Ken, is that our board, our collective board can't attend your public meetings as a board, because we would have to warn it. So for what that's worth, but.
Maybe we
So,
should set it up that we meet jointly every other month. Would that make communication better? What do you boys think?
We already have a topic for setting a date for the next meeting, so maybe we
Yeah.
could just
Yeah.
discuss that
Yeah.
on that one.
Yeah.
It's a good point. It is.
I mean, that especially through slow periods, you know, like we don't need these much over the summer, but people don't want to be here. You know.
And that will foster merging.
That's our,
Yeah,
what we need to do.
communication, period.
It was
We're not foster merging.
Why foster it? We don't even know if we're gonna. Correct.
I'm just, okay.
It would look good in the community, because the community is questioning why we aren't.
Right, the community
So,
voted. on
nothing
it.
else, it wouldn't,
We weren't directed to move forward. We were directed to have discussions.
life, and we need to have discussion, but we haven't.
so we just got an agenda
Yeah, we need to rate it.
item. So, yeah,
So, I guess furthermore on this subject, and actually, you know, really, items 1 through 3 are kind of. Well, you know,
So
all together.
I did have a question about this specific grant funding that you're going after. So the village's plan is to use some of this money to put solar panels on top of the cover for the diesel
We're
tank?
using that
Because that
money,
is getting outside of,
we're
yeah.
using that money to. Most of it's envelope. All the new insulated walls, roof, all that stuff, we're allowed to use it for envelope.
Yep,
Heat pumps.
understood.
Yeah, heat pumps, envelope, you know,
It's the photovoltaic piece, I guess, that I have
right.
a question about, because it is getting outside of the building. And I don't know what
It
shape
wouldn't go
the
into
structure's
different-
even in.
That's not necessarily. That may or may not be used in that grant. It may be a part of the other funding.
That would be a good conversation piece for a future
I mean,
meeting.
It's not digging ground there. It would just be on an existing other. roof.
I understand,
The other village roof.
just super high level, right? If the wrong converters are used and dirty power is put in and we blow the fuel pump up, the town's on the hook for half that cost. I would just like to at least discuss it. That's all. Super high level.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't put solar panels there. People love solar panels in this state. That gets no sun.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be, you know, obviously installed by an electrical engineer. And we have, you know, qualified linemen and our own electrical engineer on staff to back to check it.
I understand. Dealt with quite a few of them.
But it gets that, I mean, ultimately, I think that when it comes to any of these discussions, it really doesn't matter what the topic is. We're always gonna have questions about anything that could put a town in a position of liability.
Yeah, there's no transportation for us there.
Yeah.
We've got,
And
we've got qualified staff to double check the experts that are putting it in.
the question was not intended to second guess at all. It was just how,
The village's intention is to make sure that the town does not have any liability in anything.
And be open in information.
this is the first I heard about that.
So the other question I heard was. Well, us doing improvements in regard to the wording of MOU. The MOU was written basically so we can go forward this project without having, you know, to do all that. And basically it's a question of the different of terms between the definition and the statement of agreement. And so I sent it to our lawyer and he agreed that the more specific wordings carries. So with the definition of maintenance improvement being any work done to a building that does not alter its use or result in no reduction in value, basically makes the statement agreement also say for reduction in value. It just says change, significant change in use or value, but you know, because it's an improvement, it basically means, you know, value not going down. To that, the boards are so board wish, I've got a second copy in here that has that the only change in the wording in the statement is I just changed it to substantial change in use or reduction in the value. So the intent was. You want to polish that up, it's right there in the back. That was the intent to begin with.
The reason we were concerned with that part of it is that in the joint meeting when the MOU was passed. For the exact time in the meeting, but you and Evan both said that if we wouldn't have to only inform you for an increase in value just for insurance purposes. So the substantial change in value part of it should be, like Eric said, just a reduction in value.
Yeah, because not even substantial, just a reduction in value.
Because we would have definitely, you know, informed you of the increase in value because we want our assets covered.
Right. So I think we've moved on to the next agenda item based on this discussion.
Yeah, so it all kind of blend together on the first three items, so.
Okay,
They kind of do blend together, but I tend to agree we're on item 2.
I think we're on item 2.
Yeah.
So select board, what are your thoughts on changing the wording to reduction in value?
I mean.
I
also
don't-
Just reference, you can reference the letter from. The lawyer that, that clears all that up.
I don't even fully agree with
Right.
the village's lawyer's take.
Okay.
I think we kind of all know that this is loose, and both boards have decided not to send it out for legal review and spend a
Right.
boatload of money. The brownfield issue concerns me a little bit, but I don't want to hold up any work you guys are doing in the village garage. I'm not really interested in changing it, because that would be another 6 meetings, I'm sure, when we start getting in the weeds. I understand you're proposing 2 words, but
Yeah, I mean, we could,
You know,
we could really do it and decide it tonight.
that, yeah,
In 2
but
minutes.
there's plenty of other contradictions. That's just my thought. That's the whole board, one person.
I agree, my concern, which was the basis of my comment at our earlier meeting, is that I am not sure that an MOU trumps ownership of property and liability, assignment of liability, et cetera, et cetera. Your attorney's opinion doesn't really completely address that. I suggested to our board at our last meeting that we get an opinion on that, and I still think that's what we should do.
Shana or Mark, do you have an opinion on this at all, on changing wording tonight?
I don't think we should do it tonight.
I don't think that we, okay, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I like the clarification, but I kind of agree with it, and that there's probably other areas that we could look at.
There's a lot,
Evan, are you referring to the MOU in general? There's a lot to question on it.
What's that?
Oh, I'm confused what it's talking.
mostly, yeah. If we're gonna spend time on it, we would have to rewrite the whole thing and start from scratch, really. Maybe we could, as a select board, decide to see if our attorney could see if MOU trumps ownership, because the trustees have already paid for an attorney review of wording.
Specifically that question about liability.
Specifically that question, I'm fine
Yeah.
with paying our attorney that. That the other board members are.
Yeah, that's the most important piece to me.
It's kind of working as a team. Trustees have money in legal review, we could have some.
I support that too. I think we need to understand liability from our aspect.
I'd like to throw out another idea, but perhaps our attorney could weigh in on it. If it even is of interest to anybody. In my mind, there wouldn't be an issue. I mean, you referred to it as your property. It's not your property, it's jointly owned by the town and the village, and that, I think, is a fundamental issue. Is there any interest in physically separating?
Absolutely. I was actually gonna bring that up. Subdivision would be the simplest way.
I don't know if it'd be the simplest way, but it'd certainly be one way. to
It
do
wouldn't be super simple. Now, if there was a subdivision
Well, yeah.
and it got sold to the electric department, then you could access a lot of green or brownfield money.
Right,
There's money for new owners, not for
But
owners.
I'm not suggesting that route, I'm just saying, because there would be a transition to ownership,
right.
then you could actually access real funds.
I think that's possible.
Yeah, I think possible.
So, yeah.
My only worry without changing these few words is because we have a major conflict here that has already become an issue between definitions and statement of agreement. So it's an ongoing issue where we could just change it with a couple words. Yes, there's a lot to deal with, but maybe we can get this one little thing so these 2 items match each other instead of conflict each other.
I agree with the.
Oh, it seems like it's being more complicated than what it needs. And changing those couple of words, if it'll move us forward, I don't wanna get stuck. That we can't move forward with our project because of a word or 2 words in that. And not changing those words, do you think it stops us?
No, because the board already supports
I
that.
was gonna say, you're looking specifically at me.
Well, it's
Maybe,
maybe you up and
maybe it's my handsome face for all the viewers out there.
That's exactly.
Pretty sure that's not it.
Maybe I should shave.
I just figured you had the answer.
I personally cannot speak.
So not
Or the-
changing this does not change anything that we want.
Our board talked about supporting the project at our last meeting. Oh,
In one way that we could accomplish that would be to actually support or sign on as a co-owner to your application.
The application for what?
Well, you got brownfields, you got federal funding, you've got the MERP grant.
We've already signed, we've already moved forward with the grants.
You,
And we were the first selected for the Senator Welch's grant.
That's great, but what if Welch's office comes back and asks you to certify that you're the proper owner of the property?
And I would say we would take that step as it proceeds.
so you would rather be reactive instead of proactive?
Well, there's $1 million here that we're losing you guys would lose $500,000 and we'd lose $250,000.
Well, actually, we'd lose 844.
Yes, I see, mentioned was a
It's a CDS.
No, specifically,
Not to throw a wrench in the works until something comes up.
So you'd prefer to not answer the question and find out later that you're not eligible because you don't own the property?
And possibly find out later.
so they're willing to take that
Nice.
risk. If they're willing to take that risk,
Let's
That's
let
theirs.
Dee have her turn.
I just am wondering how this document was created anyway that has raised so many questions. I agree that the couple of words should probably be changed to eliminate the questions that the trustees have.
So the trustee board had nothing to do with this document besides agreeing to it, I guess.
Okay.
We didn't write it. It was presented to us by the select board. So
And-
I do not know.
It's not correct, is it, Brian?
That isn't correct. This. I don't have exactly offhand, but this was created by the village on behalf of the village trustees. By merit, it had been modified from that original document, but it was presented first by the trustees.
I do not remember seeing this, and I've been on the board for 2.5 years now.
Before then.
It could have been before that, so I guess I was wrong, but
regardless of bygones, I can't speak for Duncan, but I tend to agree that if the town was brought in, and gave the chair or Shane, any member, authority to represent the town in signing document, or Brian or Rosemary, whatever. And you come to where, Senator Welch's office is cutting a check and they ask you to verify that you're an owner. If you lose that money down the road because you're using a reactive approach instead of a proactive approach, that's your fault, not the town's. I think what Duncan was trying to get at is he was supportive of being proactive. And it is your decision. I'm just saying have fun, like if you lose funds, I'm sorry. But that wouldn't be because the town wasn't trying to be proactive with the trustees, it would be because the trustees was trying to be reactive.
So when we applied for this, was the application, did it say the
Yes.
building is jointly owned?
It wasn't a question in the application.
And it wouldn't have to be correct because we both have different identifying numbers.
They both have different separate EINs. Yeah. I don't foresee that question coming up.
If it doesn't, great.
Yeah.
But there wouldn't be a reason to, because of the different.
But you're
Yeah,
not
they
the
wouldn't
sole.
be-
Right, correct.
The same thing could happen to the town if the town was going for a grant.
Yeah.
For,
That's why.
And one of our biggest things.
Okay, wait a second, wait. We're in public meeting and we need to be able to document what is being said, so one person needs to go at a time. Gigi, I think you were talking first.
Oh, no, I was just saying that because we applied with our own EIN, the town also can apply under their EIN. If we did it jointly, it's my understanding that we would only be able to apply once. We would not be considered separate entities.
So that's the whole thing with the MERP, and that's been, qualified underneath the letter from the manager for MERP.
So Eric will work on getting clarification whether we would need you to sign on for the grant. But the village would be happy if you guys would sign on for the brownfield assessment. Make sense? Then we will look into it and get verification that we are the sole occupiers of that property, but it is joint. We'll get verification from Senator Welch's crew that it's just the actual property being joint, and if we can consider the building ours for this grant. Going by the MOU, but we understand that you are 50% owners.
Yeah, and maybe it's less about the applicants and more about do you need any sign off from property owners? Because we're a joint.
That's why if he looks into it and he comes back, and tells me, then we'll.
Thank you.
It could end up if we had to apply for this jointly, then we would get 500,000.
This is the 800.
That's Senator Welch. This is not a murder.
But we've already clarified in the MERP that it's pretty congressional.
So my question would be, would the select board allow, say, the chair could give signature if we find out, so we don't need to hold things up and we can continue?
I think we would be interested and supportive of writing a letter of support and anything that required property ownership verification. Yeah. I'm just being careful about the way I'm saying it, because it's the difference between applying, to your point, over and over, it's a difference between applying for the grant and making sure that we're supporting as a property owner.
So
Well said.
the select board is willing to sign on the brownfield study with us. Phase 1 and future.
Thought you already had phase 1 done.
No.
Oh, you don't have.
Brownfield
Phase 1 of the Ashley Energy audit.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or level 1.
My understanding.
So many acronyms going around here.
So the energy audit we need to do for this, we have that one done.
My understanding is the brownfield phase 1 was just a walkthrough through the building.
Yeah.
No core samples, no nothing besides that. That's why we were proceeding, you know what I mean? There was no action being taken. It's just a phase to say, as Duncan said, are they gonna look outside? Are they gonna chase a plume and LCPC? We all know it's got problems, and I believe their statement was they doubt highly they would chase.
So it wasn't just LCPC, it was, we met with Steve LaRosa from Weston Sampson, who's the engineer that specializes in ground floors. Part of the leading authority in the state. And it's like, in this kind of project, they're not gonna worry about when we know it's there. They're gonna worry about the health and safety of the occupiers of the building.
Inside the building.
So most likely, course would be a vapor barrier and 6 layers of concrete, if there was, enough methane for that stuff in there.
Okay. Thoughts?
I'm literally just trying to think about it from a liability standpoint, because we're a half owner. I'm supportive of it because it's moving in the right direction, but I'd like to get clarification on town liability. But it's supportive. As vague as that is. Supportive's pretty directed.
Actively agreeing, yes.
I think we should, into Duncan's idea, make it very simple. They can you know, finding a good line and splitting that property off and. You know, having the town garage belong to the town, the village garage belong to the village, and there's no. There's not, maybe actually with Evans. You know, addition would be sold to the. Water, to the, electric company. That gives two things. It
That was-
liability to the town. And it opens up possibly brownfield funding.
You could correct me if I'm wrong, and we have a really, really old select board member in the audience.
We won't mention names.
But if the town is to sell a property that needs to go to a vote of the town, we can't decide that tonight. I don't know if it's different for the village or the same.
It's the same.
I want to say excited tonight could be something we have to. We want to actively pursue, looking into.
That would be a good next joint meeting topic. I think it's just too large to.
Right.
to
May I
discuss.
say something about liability? My concern is that the health of the employees that are using that space, I would consider that being a greater liability potential than what you're talking about.
For the village, yeah,
Yes, yes,
but we do have to work with them.
right. But I mean, I'm just concerned about the health of the people working there versus the dynamics of what the discussion has been about in terms of physical plant.
I don't know. Can't speak for them, but I don't know of any select board member that doesn't not care about the health of your employees. Double negative, right?
Right. No, that's fine. I'm just saying you keep talking about liability, and that is an alive, fluid liability,
Yeah,
having them
but
work in that environment.
That's our concerns. They have to.
Their concern is if we find a lot of contamination, which messes up their occupancy.
Right.
On there.
But actually, what you said, Gigi, is also accurate from a liability standpoint. If an employee contracted something and sued, they'd sue the property owner, which is the town and village of Johnson.
Correct,
We would have the liability on that issue as much as you guys would,
correct. And yes,
which I think is the point you were trying to make.
yes.
Gotcha. I think Eric wanted to say.
Eric, did you want to say something? You didn't want to.
He was raising his hand.
Were you really?
Yeah, just waiting.
It was just a comment on the joint ownership, because when the property, the Patriot property was purchased, it did require the town and village voters to vote. Agree to purchase, so I think they both have to agree to. On something else, right?
There's state statute relative to selling property. It requires a public, I think what it requires is a public notification of the intent to sell. And the voters can petition a meeting to prevent the sale or to have a discussion about it, but there's definitely a notification requirement prior to the sale, right, of municipal property.
Okay, so where did we land? I feel like we didn't land anywhere.
I feel like we've gone item 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 1, together 2.
Just basically to clarify, the village would be looking for the select board to sign on phase 1 and 2 of the brownfield studies, phase 2 if needed. Phase 1 first to get going.
Does the board support the Brownfield Phase 1 study?
Sign off on phase 1. I'll make a motion to authorize the chair to sign off on phase 1.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Guys have it.
And then in Eric's monthly updates, like if he had a projection at when phase 2 was gonna happen, if he got that to Beth and me and I, or whatever, we could get that in our next meeting.
I'm sure if Eric finds anything pertinent that you would need to have immediately, he would forward up.
Yeah, I'll just do a blast.
Yep. Cool.
Good.
I do with you, Eric.
Yeah, that's it. It's significant. I can do a blast, everybody.
It's gonna be a blast.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we've missed in these 3 first agenda items?
Number 3, just for the garages. Just I asked that because it says, for individually managed properties as in there's more than one, so.
Got rid of a lot of it.
So it's just for the current buildings specifically.
Yeah, I'm a little hard of hearing. I didn't hear a thing. you
Oh,
said. Can you-
yeah, I asked with number 3, is it just, because it says individually managed properties, I asked if it was just related to the 2 garages, or are there more properties that they're interested in a separation with?
And not the municipal building, because that's next up on the radar.
Right.
That's
Not
not,
nice.
that's not individually managed. I guess
Right.
the village individually manages the
Yeah.
smokehouse and the town individually manages the White Hut, we'll call it. But I think everything else down there's pretty well.
Yeah, in the garage of individuals.
Okay, let's move on then.
Just the one thing that I want to say before we move on is I think the elephant in the room over this entire conversation is the merger. And, you know, we talked instead of potentially going the opposite direction. And I know it's a topic for the next meeting, but I just can't let us move on without saying a lot of these would be a lot easier to deal with if there was a merged entity.
That would take a minimum of 3 to 5 years.
I'm with you.
And this is right now.
And while we're discussing that in the next meeting, we're also talking about adding an agenda item to potentially split out certain properties.
Right.
So, like I said, going in the opposite direction.
Okay, yep.
Products.
Can I
So
just
noted.
make a comment on it? Just with that, kind of same thing, since we're not blending, say merger does happen, we're not blending one entity into the other, both are giving it up. So whether those are separated or not, it's the same thing going forward. This is just short term, piece, basically, or management, kinda. That's what I was looking at.
Legion Park would become both, Village Green would become both. No.
I like the rosy picture you're painting, and I hope that the future is.
Okay,
I'm holding Eric to 5 years.
so noted on
Coming to an end quicker.
let's move to the next topic. Which is discussion of the town clerk's office. I think these are all village topics, I think, this point.
No.
Oh, this was one we added? Okay,
Yeah, there's actually no.
okay, cool. We make side comments all the time about things that need to be done here, and we all see them when we walk through to these seats. So think it's worth just talking about whether or not we should pursue some of the maintenance updates that could certainly be done, both inside and outside of this building.
One of the things is, it's dirty as hell. And I mean, top of mind last fall. And we agreed that we should, get a blended crew together and power wash it. And
Oh, you're talking about the outside.
right, when people have breathing room. But we have to pick the timing right, because right now everyone's crushed.
Yeah. And they both entities have separate.
Well, separate and
Like
together. I mean, we
traffic
were just
times.
working, street project together with manhole raising and all that stuff. You just have to find a spot that, it fits, a couple days fit in part of each crew schedule.
I'm totally supportive of that idea.
So what else was the project you guys did?
I think we've talked, I'm frustrated with the quality of internet access in this building.
Hallelujah.
And I just think that we ought to put our heads together and ramp that up so that I'm not in the meeting getting bumped off from the internet trying to do things. So
We just gave $50,000 to the Loyal Fiber now.
and they're coming, but we're not ready to.
Okay,
3 to
so
5
power
years.
washing, internet access, we also have cracks and like
Sheetrock
stuff
repair.
falling out of the everywhere. So what'd you say it again? The tower needs to be finished.
You're talking the siding?
It was partially recited And then we had COVID when we were supposed to finish. And have a return to them. And I believe the contractor, we had a new. After
Yes, that's-
HVAC,
There's some pretty basic stuff like
The carpets,
carpets,
and floor areas.
floor needs to be sanded. I don't think any of these spaces have been painted since the building was new. Over, what, 20 years now? So, there's issues like that.
Are these energy efficient lights in here? Do you know, are they T1, T11 bulbs?
We get the least efficient are T11 fluorescents,
Okay.
but there's a split of LED on everything else. So.
but they kind of all need to be
Yeah.
updated.
Didn't we have some discussion about grant money available for that?
There is efficiency.
Big money, long-term items, the roof is gonna need a replacement, and the parking lot's gonna need a replacement. And the parking lot is probably super complicated because the village owns the entrance and exit, I believe. Those are big money items that we're gonna need to spend 50-50 on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with the smaller ticket items. Brian, Rosemary, Eric, you guys work in the office every day. Is there big stuff down there?
Carpet is probably the biggest one.
It's the big one.
What if
It's
we,
any good repair otherwise. Sorry.
Carpet says in cleaning or just replace?
Cleaning would be nice. Replacement would be better.
Has it ever been clean?
It's been clean, yeah.
But not like professional. Yeah. You'd be the one to get a professional.
Yeah, steam thing that makes it look all.
Yeah.
A bigger extension on what Mark said, but network infrastructure probably needs to be replaced. I can't really make that call yet, but my guess is it's pretty old.
you can't make that call yet,
Did you write down HVAC?
yes. What if we?
Sprinkler system, that would be a big money, long ticket item.
We don't have one, there isn't one.
No, that's why it says max capacity 49. You're not allowed to have more than 49 people in this room. If more than 49 people show up to one of your meetings, you have to cancel it. And we get crowds, I'm telling you,
yeah.
crowds. At the time.
It wouldn't at the time, right? And I think when the new water line was put in, there was a 4-inch or an 8-inch.
So
Done.
the stud is ready.
Yeah, I think it's all of that. So I don't think it would require, cutting into the main.
Which would be a minor portion of that expense, because repiping the whole sprinkler system is gonna be big.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
it
a
would be
long-term
repiping.
capital project.
You would be installing.
That's what I'm saying.
There's nothing.
I'm saying running pipe in a finished building for the sprinkler system is much more expensive than doing it when you're building.
So what if we talked about, well, I guess the question is, would the trustees be interested in reaching out to a contractor? Probably a bigger contractor who could subcontract some of these different areas, but a contractor who would do an assessment of all building needs inside and out, including HVAC, like they could subcontract the HVAC, or maybe we do HVAC separately. We do sprinklers separately and we do network separately, but at least get somebody in here or a couple people in here. Give us estimates on what the best case scenario could be. And then make a decision on what we want to proceed with or not and look for grant opportunities for those areas.
I have a bigger question than that.
What?
How do I word this? What's the trustees' bandwidth on being able to spend money on this building? I don't, do you guys have a reserve fund for buildings? I don't. Play around much. I don't know. You remember how healthy ours is, Rosemary?
Well, wait, one question at a time. Let's,
I know we have no money planned for it in our budget for this. That doesn't mean we don't have some money, so. I think the best thing would do would be, like you said, to get a contractor in here and give us a priority list on their end. And price end. I'm not sure if we have any building reserve fund here. I didn't think so. We have small amount of money, but so far, all of our funds have been dedicated to the audit for this year.
When you say small amount, do you have an idea? $25.
We can buy it small. We can buy a gallon of paint.
That's
No,
No, you can't.
Buy it for a gallon of paint for $25.
it's gonna be time anyway.
So-
For this all.
I guess Eric,
well, where I was going with that question is, I understand budgets. Not as good as that. But if we could tackle a small project together, if you guys had a small amount of money, I would at least keep things moving forward instead of just stalling for another year, waiting for
Yep.
an audit and then not having enough money for the audit and getting sticker shock. And another question I have, if the select board decides to try to get some money for this building, do we have your permission to do whatever we decide there?
yes.
Could I get an official vote on that? We haven't discussed it at all. I'm just saying, if we discuss it, I don't want to get back to, well, we need the trustees' permission. If we decide to go after some grant funds for this building,
So let me start with.
well, no, I'm doing it proactively.
Let me start with Evan's comment. I'd say we can definitely write off the power washing. Whether your crew's available to help or not, we would take on that.
I'd like to see some of them both, though. Like you guys.
Well, I would just go on that.
Oh,
If
sorry.
you guys could do a different project in here with some of the MERT money, we would gladly take on the outside to get it clean. Or support on that end. I would say that if we got a contractor in here, I'd say the sheetrock repair and cracks could happen, possibly some paint. You agree, Eric? We could find some,
I mean, I think that
depending on the cost, of course.
From what I've understood-
$50,000 to paint this room and downstairs, they're gonna have a problem. Right.
Well,
from what I've understood from Nate knows and more about the conditions and stuff in here than most. If we're gonna spend a little bit of money, first priority would be that tower, because there's water damage from.
Yep. I was getting to that one.
Yeah, they don't want to parallel ship.
Because they would have a lift to power wash.
All right.
If the contractor wasn't available immediately at a decent price, I don't know if our team's gonna handle that or not, we'd have to discuss it with them. But decide not. But I don't think so.
If either the town or the select board, town or the village have a lift, you don't have to.
No.
We have a
Yeah.
ladder.
Well, the
Me too.
power washing would be accomplished with an electric bucket truck, which wouldn't be appropriate for doing siding.
I agree. So I would believe our board would be interested in pressure washing, sheetrock repair, and possibly paint.
Linda doesn't have a mic, but I think she offered a paint.
Would you guys
Paint 2 years.
I was getting that.
And they would
Okay.
fit it in.
I was just going off the
Don't
list.
you give it a question,
you say?
I'll just remind you that Edward's questions that we could actually get a vote of the trustees to support them. Your use of the urban here.
If we haven't even discussed it, I haven't talked to anybody here, so
I'll get that.
So we can make that quick if you want to make.
Yeah, I motion that anything the select board does to improve the building through grants or anything, municipal building through grants or anything, that we agree to it.
We have a second.
a second.
Is that good for you, Donna?
Yeah, it seemed like a little big and I'd be worried about it if I were you guys, but
Any kind of improvements, make.
Not helping here.
Thank you, Don.
Would you make a friendly amendment that at their expense?
Anything they could come up with to improve it through grants or other.
Yeah,
Well, they're welcome.
not using village funds.
Is that better, Don?
Yeah, I was just thinking, there'd be arguments about whether it's actually an improvement or not, but.
Or necessary.
I don't think they're gonna spend money on something that's not gonna improve it.
I would like to just say that if it is interior painting, I would do that without cost. So, and I'm a proficient painter. Just if that would support the.
As a resident, you're a volunteer.
I'm a volunteer, yes, yes.
So that would be up to them to take that up.
Okay.
I don't know if we're actually talking about.
Any more discussion on our part? All in favor?
Aye.
Permission.
Thank you. Okay, and Ken, if on the power washing or sheetrock and painting that you referenced earlier, do you want approval from us on those things?
I was just putting in that we would be willing to be partners.
I got you. Okay, cool. All right. Okay.
As long as, you know, as long as we can find funds.
That can be done.
I'm sure we can knock off the here, the fire. Can't see.
I got you. And we add, okay, and then that partnership, we're adding that too.
Well, the power wash.
Yeah, the difference is it's one.
We can do the rest of it besides.
True.
Okay, cool.
This is has trees, everything.
Is there anything else we need to talk about when it comes to municipal maintenance?
I've done a lot of talking.
Yeah, that was thinking.
Evan, shut up.
Shut up.
Thanks, Beth.
Okay. Okay, I think we're done with that one. River Road East. Now we get into the good stuff. So. How should we
Rosemary
kick this
laugh.
off? Smarts. Okay, River Road East. Does anyone
So,
want to get us started? Yeah.
The village's attorney, which Eric included in the packet, the attorney's response. And it specifically references, in the last paragraph, I believe all trustees have seen the correspondence from our attorney. It states that the village and the town should meet, to see if they can find common ground. Is the village interested in finding common ground, and what would that common ground be?
Well, if you guys want to install it properly, we'll take it over after.
Could you elaborate on that, like considerably?
The catch basins aren't catch basins, they're rims in the ground. With inadequate.
Not the one in question,
Which one are you in question?
the one that was replaced.
That's the first one on.
Yes, it
the
is.
road. Well, that's a rim. It's not a catch basin.
No, it was changed out. That was part of the cost. If you remember back a couple boards ago, 2 years ago, when it failed, the trustee board and the select board had asked after it was replaced to go out and do a survey. You guys asked your foreman, who refused to do it with our foreman at the time, and our foreman went out and drew up a map that you guys received, showing the other three that are potentially problematic, but I don't believe the one that was replaced.
I just showed it 3 days ago, and there's no new catch basins on that product.
So when we received the letter.
So it was just the culvert that was replaced?
Yes, when we received the letter from your attorney, I went over and I took pictures. There's a Mopar rim as a catch basin. I catch the first one. There's
First one.
inadequate piping going down.
Start
across and across.
Going.
I do not have. It is, I do not have the pictures with me. I don't know if they went through the email I sent to you. So I sent pictures. There was standing water in that rim immediately after you guys finished doing it, and there was no water exiting out through.
Is that
the open.
inside the highway right away?
According to our foreman at the time, it's in Manchester's property, and to have a right of way around it big enough to do it would be into their office.
So you're only. Just want us to be clear, your only middle road is the town spends. More money on something that's not in our right of way. And then you'll take it over even though. I
Well,
guess
that
we
would-
would need a right of way for it.
That would be if the town acquired right of ways from Manchester in the area. First of all, there was a long-standing agreement that if it went from DI to an open end, that it was the town's responsibility. Because the town has more capabilities to do that type of thing. And if it was from DI to DI, it became the village's responsibility.
Is that the long-standing agreement with previous foremans?
It's been a long-standing agreement for a long time. I do not have the dates. Maybe Eric could correct us on that, but yes.
The long-standing agreement was pretty black and white. Whereas if you daylight to daylight, basically a culvert, if you could look down and see through the other end, definitely a culvert, that would count responsibility. If it had a storm drain, it's village responsibility. That was black and white, but there's a lot of gray areas in the town, in Munich, where culverts going into storm drain systems, storm drains going into and coming out culverts, and in those type of situations where it was pretty gray, the two previous, a few generations back, foremen worked together, both teams, crews and worked together to do whatever had to be done. Manchester property, that's another gray area. It was not installed by the town, it was not installed by the village. It's a cluster of rooms put together. But I think where the miscommunication might be on some of those over there was the failed one. It was the one between the Manchester office and the sawmill. There's a routine parking lot right there. There's a brand new catch basin the town installed. They put a new culvert underneath. I'm not sure if Manchester says hooked it up to whatever fighting they have. The rim is in the first parking lot as you head down River Road east. It's a parking lot between the parking starters in Manchester. The second one was the failed one that got replaced. The third one is down in the parking lot, Manchester's, just beyond the sawmill. And then there's a fourth one, I believe, it's just a little bit further down the road and may or may not be in the village.
So
outside.
the last two are not in the village limits. It's only two, the first two on River Road East.
If you look at the boundary line, the third one, it's right on the line. I guess you have to survey it to see if it's in or out, but it's close.
According to the map, it's downstairs, it's not, but you're right, I guess it could be.
And for clarification, historically, you said, the road crews would, or the two crews would work together. How would funding be split? In those times, you know, back before electricity and stuff, and you were on.
Back when he was the first on the board.
Right.
Let me add to,
Love the orders on stone.
let me add to Evan's question. How would it have been determined that it would bend the responsibility of either party? If the town didn't install it and the village didn't install it.
The two foremen would go out and, you know, see, look at the situation and determine either one of the others or if they were gonna work together because they couldn't figure it out. In a situation like this one with Manchester's, what needs to be done is what you're doing right now. Either we get a town attorney opinion, you have a village opinion, attorney opinion. If two of you can't come up with an agreement, then you go on recourse and go to Superior Court and they'll give you an opinion that sort of one.
Quick question for everybody, I guess. Well, I've heard there's an interested developer trying to put housing in there. That developer is gonna at least have to extend the sewer. There's no sewer down there, there's water, sewer. And, you know, so they're gonna have to, you know, at their expense, extend our sewer. Good proper drainage, since it is, you know, it is currently privately owned drainage, the proper drainage be a condition of project as well.
Just so I understood what you said there, did you say there is a proposed development?
Someone talked about it. Did you hear about some of them?
Very little, I mean,
Yeah,
Talking about
That's
management.
into
The
more detail than I knew about it.
right, but there's, I heard, I forget who from, the secondhand talk, but there's someone looking at putting housing in there,
On Manchester's property.
right, you know, and they're gonna have to, you know, to do that, they're gonna have to extend our sewer, that's just fact.
Right.
A significant amount of that is inside the park. The extent I had heard about it this morning, somebody said that they were expecting additional housing on that side of Railroad Street.
So
I don't know if that's,
could it be?
I don't know what,
It could probably be a request or a
I think that's a village. site
contingency
decision.
from the village,
Yeah.
yeah, on that.
I'd have a hard time believing that you could condition a sewer line extension on fixing existing drainage.
It's worth a question.
It would also make it easier to do at the time if we're extending.
Speaking of brownfields, is Manchester's around?
Well, we wouldn't be sitting there, their contract would be.
Then it would be easier to do it.
Five to 10 years.
So I guess what is the select board looking from the village?
Well, I think the question is still out there to Eric about the funding, like how would the funding played out? It would have
In
been
a
just
gray
board
area,
negotiation, or would it have been something that had
It was a gray
precedent?
area, they split the top.
It was split, okay.
Usually wasn't a significant.
I can give you a perfect example of one such situation, of the drainage around French Hill, the intersection of French Hill and Railroad Street. The town actually obtained a bridge and culvert grant to change that out. The town and village crews worked together, and there was a cost sharing for the materials for that. But the town and village crews worked together to implement a change with that French Hill.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that, you know, the town could try to pursue V-Trans money, and the village could try to pursue CVSRF money. See if
Or
see if anyone stores.
Or-
For that drainage project.
you're talking the other three.
Didn't we?
Well, that first one's not good, I mean,
For 1, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
which other ones need to be updated?
So
Didn't CJ Manchester? There was a catch basin off to one side. Didn't CJ agree that he would put that in? And the culvert?
he purchased it
He did. He purchased it from
from the town
town.
and put it into that was on his property. And I don't think it was any of the catch basins on this side of the road, on the upper side of the road.
So if you put it in, there's no way to have him.
He didn't,
He didn't.
CJ didn't.
Okay.
He was at the board meeting 2 years ago with both boards and said that. No, he can't recollect it, right?
It was CJ that came on board.
Yeah, so I can't speak for the board. Trying to find common ground here with the village. Because the town was forced into paying for everything, I would entertain the idea. If the village could reimburse half the money, the town has all the hours in it for the one that's done, and we could discuss the other three at our next meeting. That's just my opinion, that is not a board opinion.
I like the idea of, for that second one, looking for a grant, to say, going down your route, Eric, because I know we don't have it in the budget.
Well, I think before any of it could happen, I think we need to start with touching base with Manchester's and see if they're gonna be willing to give right of ways for this to happen to begin with. Because we can't just go install it without having the actual right of way.
Well, that could certainly be a good topic. At our next joint meeting, when we discuss the other three, I was specifically talking about the expense in the one that is replaced.
For the emergency
For
replacement.
the emergency replacement to get the road back open.
You know, if Manchester didn't want to grant right away, I mean, right now, the piping goes all the way to the river. They have discharges in the river. I don't know what the ramifications of that are, but if they were not willing to negotiate an easement, the town has an option of digging a ditch all the way along there. And
Yeah,
Originally there.
it's probably what was originally there. I think that all got filled in,
Right,
you know, at some point in time.
that would actually be the most cost effective way to deal with that. You think about it. It's-
I don't know what CJ thinks.
No. Yes, if he's not willing to, you know, maintain his system. That could be the stick. Garrett, maintain your system.
we could drill the road and pump concrete in. You know, the road's not gonna collapse at that point for the other three, and then as long as the water sheets off the road, the town doesn't even really need to dig a ditch.
Yeah, there's really not a huge water problem there.
No,
Anyways.
those are all options, but
Right.
I'd like to get back to what I personally proposed, not board proposed. That
think
seems
the
like we
board-
keep talking about.
The board, so do you support what Evan's saying about the?
Just meeting in the middle, getting a reimbursement, and I'm not saying a check has to be cut tomorrow. I know you guys are tight on budget. You could include it in your next year's budget, and after that, we could get reimbursed. It's just meeting in the middle, that's all it is.
This brings up a question that's not on here, but the trustees have had. Well, all the things like the buildings and stuff that we're 50-50 on and stuff. It really comes out about 63-37% when you consider that the village taxpayers are also paying town taxes and they're 26% of the grand list in town. So they're paying double,
It's not how they were purchased. So,
you know, so 50% is not 50%, it's not 63% village.
But the town also pays the village, gives money
right, the
annually.
town gives the village. It'll be what, 61,000 something this year, Rosemary? For 10 cents on the grand list for the charter. I could argue that the town, yeah. Can we bring that up after we move past this?
So just
So
food for thought.
I would like to put it out that, let's have a little more discussion on it, having one of our meetings, and put that back to you.
I don't even know if the board.
We support, I support it.
I support it.
Okay, we collectively.
Just
support
meeting
it.
in the, and
Incurred expense and now we want
just being happy,
fair, share.
and we did 100% of the work, and I'm
What's the total
That's
figure?
a little over $20,000.
Yeah, that's what I recall.
And I'll just say, Evan's being very specific, I'll be a little more broad and just say, I would like to see an actual common ground proposal. It doesn't seem like you guys cover it all and we can figure out the rest later is an actual attempt at finding common ground, which is what your lawyer suggested you do.
Well,
Which is like what's already done.
Right,
yeah,
I'm
So you
aware.
can't- but then
and
going
future
forward-
stuff I would like to talk about at our
Right,
next meeting.
Right, exactly.
You know, Eric is right. The town and the village could both incur a boatload of attorney's fees and go to the Supreme Court for a ruling. I honestly think that's a worse deal for the trustees, because if the Supreme Court rules that drains are as the definition of drains being a channel or a pipe carrying a surplus of liquid, then the village could end up owning all the culverts in the entire village. And the town would. I'm not looking to do that. I'm looking to meet in the middle of that.
So let us discuss it in one of our meetings and we'll get back to you. My only concern is that I'd hate to contribute in the repair of this and still not have a right of way for future repairs. We don't have a right of way from the town. We wouldn't have a right.
So future repairs, yeah,
Watch that
if
again
you
next
guys,
year.
if the village wants, future, if they wanna own all of it, I was doing a gray area, so we'd kind of be working 50-50, but, again, speaking for myself, not the board, I'd be willing to waive the highway right of access permit fee, not the permit. But I would be willing to offer that personally, not as a board. The permit's there so that we know what's going on in the highway right away, and so that our foreman can be there and check and see what's going on. But if there's no cost for you guys to apply for the fee, I see that as an advantage for both.
So let me ask you something,
So one of the, so there are a few options you're saying, that one is to fix them, one is, would be a ditch, and one would be just to fill them in with concrete. What's the prices on each of them?
On the other three, again, I think it would be a great thing to talk about at the next meeting. I
Okay.
don't know, I could throw numbers at the wall. I'm specifically talking about your attorney's letter and our attorney's letter, which specifically
On number
talk
one.
about culvert number 2 or
Or-
catch basin number 2, storm drain number 2, whatever you wanna call it. And that's what I believe the board is in agreement on.
Yes.
Is half the cost, and specifically, I didn't say that I needed, that the town needs to check tomorrow.
so
Work with you on that.
let's let us take it up at our next meeting. Darcy.
Shouldn't at some point somebody approach the Manchesters and just see, maybe they're gonna just not refuse to do anything, or we don't know. But until we've talked to them and find out, for example, are they thinking about selling the property? And then we could be talking to the person who is potentially interested in buying the property to let them know. So it would be put a third party into this whole thing.
Because that's my concern is that the town sold them the other stuff to do the work. And there's still no right of way for either party. So if it happens again, then what?
Let's invite CJ to the next joint meeting.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So we'll take it up, possibly paying half of the 20-something thousand, if you could get us the exact number there.
To Eric,
Brian, you'll take that?
Yeah.
This here.
For that, Eric.
there's too many Erics in this room right here.
Yeah, Eric, you want that, Eric, you want to say something?
I think it's great if you're gonna pick it up again. And I would certainly recommend that you not kick the can down the road. They're probably all installed about at the same time. We had one fail already, so how long before the others fail? Roll of the dice.
You're invited to.
Eric, will you explain to me, because I'm confused as to, I've always, the sidewalks of the village,
Yeah.
the roads of
But
the
person
town,
paid
but
for it.
yet this is a village town thing that's going on. Now the culverts,
Or we remove.
storm drains are the responsibility of the village. Are those storm drains that we're talking about?
Hard to call what was there.
Oh.
Okay.
It's the gray area.
I think it was the Mopar area, actually.
They were probably bigger than that.
Oh, it said Mopar on one of the rims. But
It's,
Eric, will you add this to our agenda for the next one to discuss it? Splitting the repair costs.
In addition to the thoughts that we've had, I think it makes a lot of sense to perhaps have Nate or whoever is the village foreman now and Jason meet on site and maybe a couple of these aren't even necessary from
Right.
the town or village standpoint. They may be convenient for Manchester. And if they are, he can make an application to the town to put in a, you know,
Next meeting day, I'll try to get both of them out there with me,
yeah.
because I'm a stormwater inspector, so.
Yeah.
You just go back to a ditch.
I mean, it's possible that that could be a solution. You know, these catch basins may be much more for the convenience of Manchester than they are for either the town or the village.
Yep, sounds good.
Probably true. So next meeting, do you mind, Eric, inviting CJ to our next joint meeting? Whenever that happens? And I just ask you.
hey, it's not
because-
done yet.
Yeah, you can't.
We have more.
Hey, Eric, are you gonna come to our next meeting?
Yeah, he's invited.
Do I need?
Yeah, you invited?
You're invited. Consider this your invitation. Don't you want to stay and hear when the next date is?
We'll let you know.
You'll check in on.
Okay. Next agenda item, setting a next joint meeting date.
So.
Can I just say, we covered a lot
Yeah, good
really
job.
quick.
In a short period of time.
I think I talked for about 52% of
You all get a
it.
gold star.
That's a good thing.
So what?
So you all get a gold star.
Yeah.
Maybe
How
two.
long are village meeting typically?
2.5.
Okay, so next meeting,
Our preference would be the 21st or the 22nd, with the 28th and the 14th being backup.
what month are you talking?
June. Those are all Wednesdays in June.
Ah,
What was the first one?
21st would be our first choice.
I'm gone.
How about the 28th?
I don't know. I'll get back my number. Yes.
28th doesn't work.
I'm gone.
Where per town are you going?
How about the 14th?
14th and which one others? 14th maybe best.
14th's good for you. Can you do the 14th?
Of July.
June.
Like that.
I think so.
Also the US Army's birthday.
Mark, how's the 14th? The 14th
Beth?
is just peachy for me.
I'm good.
So far.
Super good?
All good?
Wow.
We're gonna try for
Way better than the other.
4 o'clock?
We have a winner.
No.
Yeah.
No, we can't do 4 o'clock again.
Here on out, we will not do
Oh,
it before 4 o'clock meeting, so.
6 o'clock.
4 o'clock is
14th.
hard.
6 o'clock?
Yes.
Yep.
Is that good for
On Wednesday, the
y'all?
first.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about potential topics? Just get a couple of them agreed upon now, add to, remove.
Okay, we got time, so we're having another meeting here in another week or so, and we can come up with a list. Guys, since your next one, just come up with a list. Well,
Actually, our meeting is gonna be 2 days before that meeting.
actually, we're gonna have another one sooner.
Okay. I was not aware. I was not aware.
June.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So are we set on 6 o'clock?
You might be.
Yes, please.
I think,
Gigi. Spot.
Yes,
I think the trustees already have a list that the town had that was reduced down for time to get
Yeah.
this meeting. So we have all those. I would like to add discussion for future status of River Road East, other,
Right. We have.
that way we can actually talk about the other
That's what we're
one.
doing.
We will have some answers on that after our next meeting.
Yeah.
And it'll be,
And he's gonna invite CJ.
I will.
And if they're willing to come, we'd have that be the first, item.
Get a minute out.
So we'll have 2 topics on that. We'll first have the follow-up on the replacement, on the emergency work on number 2, number 2. And then we'll have a second, which is about the future and how we're gonna function going forward.
And it would be nice.
Well, actually, you want to do it the other way, just because we want to have the CJ.
He can
items
wait
first.
for 10 minutes.
Yeah, he can wait.
Not a big deal.
Okay.
Don't mind making him wait.
It would be nice,
You don't mind making him wait.
Eric, if you are meeting Nate and Jason down there to go over the need, it would be nice if there was either a combined report or each of them had kind of an email that they could blast out.
Yeah.
Kind of
Absolutely.
get an idea on the need.
They don't,
And you'll talk to Jason about it too.
I'll do a basic assessment, I'm sure.
Beauty.
Okay, for our board, can we set a meeting for the 24th at 6? Everybody good with that? Oh, this month, yeah. 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
Eric, does that work for you?
We got no still.
I think
We got, now we talking.
Doesn't have to be Wednesdays.
Waiting,
Works better.
waiting for.
I'm gonna adjourn the select board
Zoom in.
At
It's gonna be-
24th
we're just gonna do
was-
our
5:25.
list.
Well done.
Discuss. Give them mine.
Well done, Lawrence.
Shannon might
Probably gonna be an hour and a half.
today.
So,
May 24th.
that work, TG, or?
Yeah, just Wednesdays.
What's that?
It's tough for me. Yes.
This.
Okay. No, so I guess we're all set up there. We'll have information about it on the 24th. Look for a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
We just adjourned.